And now all the questions that you have, I'm going to stop sharing.
There is another question that comes from Dr. Mohamed Ashiri. And the question is, are we supposed to change the environment around us to achieve our creativity? And if we have creative abilities, what is the best way to do that?
That's a fascinating question because, well, I'm a coach, so I have a question for your question. So my question would be, why would you like to change your environment? Because the first thing is to get to know it. What is happening in the environment that you want to change? And if you see something that you want to change, why not? Why not? But what's the purpose for that? What's the motivation? To make a better world? To bridge a gap? So this is a fascinating question, and the answer is not that you have to change your environment or you have to accommodate to it. It's both, because it depends. And also it depends on the definition of the environment. Are you talking about a region? Are you talking about a geographical region? Are you talking about an ecosystem? I'd like to know more. If you'd like to share with me, I think it's a fascinating question.
Dr. Mohamed Ashiri, maybe you can elaborate probably on your own question.
Yeah, hello. Thank you, Mr. Martin. Yeah, we talk about the environment. Environment not must be the location or the geographic place. No, sometimes the environment, who is the group with you, who's the rules with you, who's the motivation. Sometimes you can, or sometimes you like to be holding the people to grow up, but sometimes I don't know what it calls. Sometimes the rules is limitation, the not bureaucratic for that. Sometimes because I am try to handle ours, sometimes to help some of the people, but sometimes there is some step is stupid. You can't move it above that. For that, from your side, the psychology, what the best to try to make that easy for these people. Thank you for it.
Thank you very much for clarifying. That's a great question. It's something that we all face one way or another. When we want to help others or we want to bring a modification to the environment, one that we know that is needed, but because of the system or the regulations or something, there is an obstacle that we know that we cannot avoid. For that, two things. The first is to get to know the status quo perfectly, because the more that you know about the thing, the more that you put your creativity to work for you. So to me, it would be mandatory to develop creativity. Creativity plus knowledge, because if you know which is the thing that it's impeding you to get to that goal, so you know exactly what is going on, you put your creativity to work, and then you can find other ways, not breaking the rule, not creating any disruption in that status quo that doesn't want to be disrupted, but offering the same that you want to offer to those in need. Creativity is mandatory, and creativity blossoms when you have a very clear mind and a steady mind. That does answer your question a little bit?
Thank you. That's okay.
There's also another question from Thomas O'Neill, and I think I can answer a little bit of that as well, but let me give you the floor first, Maiten. The question is, what do you tell an entrepreneur that really doesn't have the skills you mentioned to proper as an entrepreneur? So how do you say no to one who is not an entrepreneur or entrepreneur at all?
Well, one fascinating thing that we already know is that you can improve any skill and you can become an entrepreneur. I mean, it's not something that you are born with. You can change. You can change your mind. You can change even your brain. You can change the neurons in your brain. So there is something that is called neurogenesis. So we have neurons popping up all the time. And we have something that's called neuroplasticity. So the neurons create compounds all the time. So knowing based on skills, what we have and what we don't have, we can create. That's something that we want to achieve. We can bridge the gap. And this is why the tool like Dr. Driessen that now probably is going to talk about it is so important. This is why we need the knowledge. We can do something about it. We can create an entrepreneur where it's not.
Well, one of the things I look for in to help entrepreneurs, if they're coachable or not, if they're willing to be mentored and coached. And if they're not, it's really challenging for me to help them.
Absolutely true. My take on that will be there must be a coach question and a motivation to answer that question, even though they ask you because they think you're the coach or you have the answer. We still try to let them answer it instead, because that's much more sustainable and probably a different answer than we would give them. Even though we see someone is not entrepreneurial, and of course we do, even as a coach. The trick is actually to ask questions that help them think about, and the eScan helps, but that's just a tool that we use, of course, but there are lots of other tools, and even without a tool, you can still ask them what they feel or how well they feel they are prepared for the steps where you think they will never succeed. So it is actually helping them to understand and say, yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm not that entrepreneurial, or maybe I should pursue. We have had those conversations where people actually say, I think I'm going to pursue another opportunity to go find a job. Most of the times, not all, but most of the times, they found a job that was actually far better equipped for them, where they said, I can be entrepreneurial within the job. So I'm much more an intrapreneur. And we saw that already, but we didn't tell them you're an entrepreneur or intrapreneur, or you're not an entrepreneur. You should. So that's, in my opinion, always is the task for a coach to never give answers, which is frustrating, but yeah, that's the best way forward. Let them understand. And even they are the entrepreneur, where you think he's not that case, but it goes, I think that's what you experience, right? That you have people that you think they're not entrepreneur, but how can I say no to them, right?
Right. Well, I'm the science guy, right? I'm an electrical engineer, and I usually do the business small campus and iCore and things like that. So, but over the decades, I've gotten really much more appreciative of the other side of the equation, right? Not just filling out a business model canvas. It's all, I use the term now, it's not just product market fit, it's also founder market fit. You know, they really got to know what they're getting into. As we know, the research shows that, you know, the divorce rate is higher, the suicide rate is higher, they make less money and work more hours. So, you know, why would you want to do that, right? And so they really try to help them to understand, you know, what the journey is going to be like and how to best prepare themselves for that journey, and, you know, not drive themselves nuts, right? Or worse, right? They're take down their family and everything else with it, when all they're really trying to do is make their lives better.
Yeah, discourage them, actually. Like, okay, are you sure? Because this is all.
Think about it.
Exactly. Yeah, true.
But that's key. They're trying to make their lives and their loved ones' lives better. And that's the key. That's the thing. That's we as coaches need to ask all those questions. This is why we work with so many exercises and things between sessions. So we have our session, we talk about a lot of things, and in between sessions, we work. So the work is not just in the session, because the main work and the most important one is to think about things from different angles, different perspectives, trying to understand. The more we understand, the better we can really be equipped and make informed decisions. This is the thing that it's really important, that it goes even beyond purpose. Even if you have clarified your purpose, you really need to be informed about yourself, your capabilities, and what are you willing to offer to others, and what are you willing to sacrifice So it's a complete analysis, right, Martin?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not one size fits all, or it is a process, and yeah. But I think you already know that. But at least that's what I assume.
It's fun though.
Yes, and I'm just curious, what makes it fun? What is for you working as a professor
I've done the whole thing.
Campus and
yeah, I mean, I started companies before when I started my first company in high school. I quit high school to run it, and ended up going to college many years later. And I got to be entrepreneurial at my university, so I appreciate the comment about you can be entrepreneurial. I started 12 incubators since I've been there, and helped faculty start 3 companies. And sometimes when I'm looking at these faculty, and it's like, why don't you hire a CEO and just get back in the lab where you belong? I mean, it's like,
exactly. Yes,
because they don't listen, and some of them are successful regardless. But there's a penalty to be paid sometimes for their success. And I just hope they understand, that they make that informed decision. That's the way you want to go.
Absolutely. And sometimes where actually you try to tell people what the pitfalls are, what the problems are, what the risks are. It's like you drive in a car and you shine the big lights, the bulbs into their face, trying to warn them. But yet they still go on because they need to bump their head against the hood in order to see the light. So before that, they don't see the light. They have to bump into the light to see the light. And that's okay. That's entrepreneurship. It's the freedom. Yeah, well, please go on. Sometimes you can actually help them because they're not open to, and there's only the hard way. Yeah, that's why 50% stops in 5 years to date. So there's a reason to it.
Okay. And there is a learning curve as well, and also respect. This is why we can help. We can help with the data. We can help with the tools. We can help analyzing things, creating a full picture of the status quo, creating a path, creating a plan, whatever. But the decision is always taken by the entrepreneur.
These personality traits like the Myers-Briggs and DISC and Productivity Index, do you make use of those tools, or do you use something else, or not at all?
I use a lot of them, not the Myers-Briggs anymore, but because data has confirmed that is not relevant anymore. The thing is that research has advanced so much. So we have really so many other extraordinary tools to use that. And also there is a risk with the type of labeling in certain old tests that we used, those assessments that we've been using for 20 years, that were fantastic, don't get me wrong. But we know better now. We know better now. And I think that this is also part of our path. We need to be updated to offer to our coaches the best. And also it depends on the personality of the coachee. Because if it is a person that is going to be too much attached to a label, we need to manage the assessment with much care. Because a label is a definition of something, and it can be a box. And we don't want to put an entrepreneur into a box. We want to make the freedom even wider. We want to prepare them for that freedom, to be positioned to enjoy that freedom, right?
And in the beginning, for my thesis, which actually started just as a thesis, just to graduate from business administration in combination with psychology, actually, I was like, okay, there are tools out there and they're great, like the Big Five or the Myers-Briggs, were all perfect for the goal of general personality. But talking about entrepreneurship, I was actually looking for something else because it didn't do what we wanted it to do. So it was more like, okay, I want to do some research. I needed the scan or a test or a tool that actually measures the entrepreneurial personality. It was not there, so I created one. That's actually how, because I was never wanting to go into any of this because my background is hospitality management. So I have a completely different background actually, but just as a on top of that graduation, on top of that some university to have that as well. I did this thesis just to understand what is needed for entrepreneurs, because I wanted to become an entrepreneur in hospitality management. But that's why I came up with this tool, not knowing that it was only for the thesis, because I thought, this is actually something that should be there. So, well, let's create a tool. Let's build some software. I have no idea what software. I didn't know anything, but yeah, that's how it goes. And the one thing that I needed to do is, of course, understand how well does the tool work? Not so much in science, because that's a different part, but in practice. How do people work with the tool, and how can they help them? And sometimes people say, well, we still want to take another test. Well, that's perfect. But for us, we use this tool, but not in all cases. Sometimes, like Maiten also says, maybe this person is not equipped to do any test because they are very anxious or very skeptical. Well, let them be. Use something else. Doesn't matter. So it's a tool. It's how you use a tool. But you don't know, I can make tea with a hammer. It's very smart to do it, but I can do it.
Excuse me, Dr. Martina. Can I participate for a second? Hi, Tom. How are you, Professor?
Sure, please.
I'm fine, thank you.
You defending my speaker?
I'm sorry. No. By the way, I'm in Orlando, so you'd really love it.
Yes. First of all, the eScan as a leading software, it is most important for our MENA, or let's say GCC country, because the problems is behind that. It's the entrepreneur going to be a startup, but unfortunately, as Maiten mentioned, they don't have the tools. And if they have the tools, it should be having the innovative tool to saving their time, to saving their energy, to having precise outcomes. The problem is everybody through the world said, I'm entrepreneur, I'm a startup, I want to become as a Bill Gates. But you need to educate, first of all. You need to know what is available in the market. Okay, this is the reason why we call it hackathon. The hackathon means we introduce to the market the latest tools, okay, to lead people implemented in their life. It's not a matter making a marketing for eScan, but we need the entrepreneur knowing. You need to know there are tools called eScan is a leading platform helping you go ahead and enter your entry. Okay, that's easy for eScan, helping you having precise outcomes, because unfortunately the people, they don't know that. This is the reason why we're making this hackathon, to helping people to be highly educated, knowing the latest tools in the market. This is just my opinion, except my apology, Dr. Martina, to answer Professor Tom. Thank you so much, Tom, for your discussions.
Oh, it's fun. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Dr. Anadi, for stepping in and share your experience. I hope that answers one of the questions. Yeah, sure, please, Dr. Anadi.
Yes, Dr. Martina, are you planning to make a test drive to let people knowing your platform? Are you able to do that?
Yeah, they even can go to the website, because there's always a freemium, so you can take it. But you can also ask me, and I will send you an example.
No, we don't have any practical. We don't have any practical implementation now.
To go through the tool, go through the test. I think it's best because people want to take the test, so they need to do it in their own time, own pace. I think that is best. Of course, I can show, but that's more what comes out of it. But I think that the presentation was more or less showing that. So if you want to take the test, either invite me on LinkedIn and I send you one, or just go to the website.
No, not for me. I mean, what you plan to do in the coming hour?
Eating.
Maiten?
What we can do, something that we can do right now is the following. Let me share this idea with you. I don't know, Martin, if you'd like to participate, but we could recreate something like that. Let's say that you, Martin, are a person that has taken already eScan. So you have a certain level of answers already, but you are still confused. You are still trying to find out certain answers. So we can do a very short role playing, let's say 10 minutes, based on you as a coachee that has gone through the eScan with a couple of, it's really difficult because the eScan is so detailed and full of extraordinary things that it's going to fall short. But anyway, we can try to do that. And I can coach you about that so they can see like a little bit about what it means to work based on the eScan and a little bit of a coaching session. What do you think about that?
So you want me to play a role, actually, a role play?
Yeah, like a role play.
Okay.
What do you think? I think that a very short one
that's
because
okay.
we don't have the time.
Is that what you also mean? Is that also what you mean, Dr. Hanadi? Dr. Hanadi? Okay.
I think yes.
Is that also what you mean? I just wanted to check with you the proposition that Maiten just made, just to give a show.
Yes, it's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Just we need the people to interact with you with your eScan to see the powerful tool.
No problem.
Thank you so much. I don't need to go all phases, just to have an overview videos for all the people, or you do it in your platform to share your platform with the audience.
I can do two things, but I think the best one is to go with your idea, Maiten, because anyone can take the test. I'm not going through the test, and of course I can show the platform. I can log in and show. Yes. That's not a problem.
Exactly. I'm looking for your platform, not for the test. But we call it, this is for any tool, test drive. Mean you drive us in your platform.
Yes. Just a sec. Let me do two things. I will go through the platform. I need to re-log in. Just a sec.
The platform.
Okay. I'm going to share my screen now. So I will first show the platform, and then we can do what you suggested, Maiten, if you're okay with that. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, I found it. Let me share the screen with you. So now we're logged into the platform. So it looks a little bit like what you saw before. I'm not sure where you came in, Thomas O'Neill, but this is actually the profile. So one, you have taken the test, the scan, which is just the beginning of things, but this is the outcome when, of course, you have access. So if you take the test on our website, you just get a freemium. This is the premium. And here you can see actually what we talked about, as well as Maiten as myself, about what are the most important entrepreneurial traits. And here you can see actually compared with in this case, this is just a demo. So I don't think it's even a real person, but it's just a demo that we created for this purpose. And here you can see what I talked about, where the thinking styles, the type of entrepreneur. So this is the power of the mindset, achievement, risk taking, and you see immediately there are a lot of weak points. There is, at least compared to the profile. Then still entrepreneurship is possible in this case for this person, but the options are limited, but it's still possible. But in this case, you see, okay, there are a lot of weak points, much more than there are strong points. Still, risk-taking, market orientation, social orientation are quite close to the profile, which is probably nice. On the other hand, you have the thinking style, so which you can see here as well. So that gives you some understanding, and you can go through it together. And this is where you can also see the 360 feedback, because you invite people, as well as I can invite one more to give a 360 feedback, where you can see, and again, these are just demos. So this is someone who was invited by Monica Sample to do the test, and where you can see actually that this is the profile, the feedback based on or compared to the profile of Monica Sample. So it gives you an understanding how other people see you as an entrepreneur, and especially talk about why is Fresco actually looking at you and thinking you're much more flexible than you think yourself, or the other way around, of course, in social orientation, together with also the thinking style, which is more the type of entrepreneur you are. You can imagine that if you are in a certain business or in a certain sector, that you must be much more the specialist probably, than in another sector you must be much more the pioneer. So it all comes together, but still you need other information as well. But this is just an outcome where we also can see that based on someone else's profile, which is actually showing there are some similarities, but some are not. And altogether, that also gives us a little bit of understanding of how well someone knows themselves. So what type of self-awareness, which is very important. I rather have someone who is not so entrepreneurial, but has an excellent self-awareness, exactly knows where the weak points are and how to address them, or at least open to finding out how to complement and address them, what strategy someone needs to take, opposed to a very entrepreneurial one, but still the feedback is different, is off, is, in this case, we have both, because the self-awareness index is not that high. But again, this is just input for the conversation, just input to talk about. And we will show together with Maiten in a moment. This is about motivation, which is very important, because that's the driver behind the entrepreneur, behind the business. And then you can go into the characteristics. So here you can see that we're going into achievement and all the other competencies that you can talk about. And you can see, okay, how well do you score compared to the sector, and how well do other people score you? So this is something that you can talk about. It doesn't have to be that way. It's just an input, and discuss how does the person see it themselves, how does around them see them. And this is something that actually can help to maybe someone saying, maybe I'm not that entrepreneurial, maybe I'm not that autonomous, what I really need to be an entrepreneur. Let's do something else. That could be an outcome of that conversation. Same with capabilities, which is different. It's all explained as well, what the differences are. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. And there's, of course, knowledge, which actually tells why knowledge is important, but also where can you find more things, more information about the mind, the mindset, about business, and things like that. And you can even find some interesting books that could help you with your entrepreneurship. And here you can see that actually the index and report, where this is the real entrepreneurial index based on the profile, where we saw there are a lot of weak points, so it could not be very high in this case, and still what someone thinks. So there's a real gap. Again, this is just a demo. So
that's awesome. I wish I had these tools. One of my first papers I wrote more than, I think, 20 years ago was about turning engineers into entrepreneurs.
Oh yeah, interesting. I know. I think I know what you're talking about, because we have seen a lot of those. Maiten, my take on this, and I will play a role a little bit, but let's assume this is my profile, and I'm with you as a coach. And as you can see, I am convinced that I am the entrepreneur, because my thinking of how entrepreneurial on a scale from 0 to 100 is 84. And I don't think this ever happens, because 0 is really low. But beside that, it would be 20 or 29, a real low. But let's go through this. So, yeah. I still want to become an entrepreneur, and I really think I'm entrepreneurial. So my opinion is this test sucks. It can be true.
Okay, before beginning the role playing, it would be lovely if I can see your face, because I still see the profile in front of me.
Yeah. Let me skip the profile.
And one important thing, and in the meantime, one important thing for the rest of the audience to really understand that this is going to be a very short a demonstration, but it's going to be very short, really short, in fact, but it's going to give you a little bit the idea of how we can combine results and data with the work that is needed to be done afterwards. Why we need these two components to create something that is going to be powerful, and that this is our aim. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, Martin. Lovely to see you again. Welcome.
Thank you, Maiten.
So, I presume that this is the time where we begin to tackle results based on your entrepreneurial scan. And as always, I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. As you know, you already know that. And my first question is, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about the results?
In my opinion, they can be true. I'm much more entrepreneurial than actually the profile. So I think there must be something wrong, or there must be a bug, something like that.
From what I understand, there is a difference of, let's say, 84 to 29%, something like that, right? Is that
There
so?
is a big difference, yes. I know I'm entrepreneurial, so I don't take it too seriously. But then again, I'm here to learn, of course, because otherwise I wouldn't take this talk with you. So,
but I think that what you're saying is really important, because we can take data as the base, and then we can elaborate, and we can work on that. So my second question is, which part in particular you completely, totally disagree beyond the result? Was it any part of the test that you dislike, any part that you are not completely...
do you mean taking the test, or do you mean the results?
The results, because what I see, and I might be mistaken, is that you don't agree with the results, and also that you are a little bit, I don't know if upset is the word. How would you define what you're feeling right now?
Well, of course I'm upset, because it gives me something that I totally didn't expect. And something is actually okay, could this be true? It makes me insecure, to be honest. And I think that planning, in my opinion, I'm very good at planning. This is something I'm capable of. Yet again, do I always plan? To be honest, no. Actually, I do more based on feeling, on my gut feeling, and just go and trust everything will come in order. But yeah, I always be proactive and take problems as they come and solve them right away. So I'm not that dependent on planning, actually.
Okay, let me share something with you, because what you say is really interesting. It's really important to be driven by your gut. There is the nerve, the vagus nerve, that connects the gut with the brain. So of course, it's important to pay attention to your intuition. But how the results could be. So let's imagine for a moment, let's pretend that you're not you anymore, and you become a person who also, besides following your instinct, plan a little bit. What about the results then? Could it be equal? Could it be different? What do you think?
I think they will be different. I think following your gut is important, but at a certain stage, you have to plan. There, especially in hospitality, it's you need to make sure you have things in order. You need to do things the way you need to do them. A, B, C, D, and there's always an order to it. So I guess I would tell myself then, in that case, it's perfect if you have a hunch, but then make sure you know what it is and how it works, and make sure the next time such thing happen, it goes the way it should go, because you're going from one hunch to another. So yeah, to be honest, I think I wouldn't give myself the same advice. I would say I'm not that good at planning. I think I can plan, but I'm not a planner. It's a bit of it as I think of it, and I'm just thinking out loud now. I think I work much more based on a hunch than that actually I really plan. Maybe I'm capable of it because I learned it, but to be honest, it's not my first thing. It's not something that I do every time. It's not my first thing. My first how do you say that? Natural attitude.
Let's follow this flow, okay? So you mainly follow your instinct, so you go by the hunch, but
yes,
you see and understand that following a plan might bring some good results. But maybe you don't think that you are such a good planner. Is that what you're saying? Did I understand it correctly?
I think I'm not a planner by heart. I think I can plan when it's needed, but most of the times I don't plan because I think my hunch is better, and I'm proactive. So I jump into it right away rather than think again and actually follow the structure that I thought about.
And what if I tell you that there is a way for you to learn tools that you can have in your back pocket and use it whenever you need it to be a planner and to be a strategist and to be whatever you want to be, meaning learning more.
Yeah,
and
I like that.
And that doesn't mean that you have to change who you are. Just means that you are going to learn new things. Learning new things, you're going to have the power to choose. So maybe, so maybe, and this is to close this role playing. So maybe the result of the scan is not exactly what you expected, but gave you something really important, gave you a path, a possibility, something to think about. So sometimes to be able to be open to new things is to begin to create a growth mindset. Instead of have this fixed mindset that is completely convinced about certain things, which, by the way, that's perfect. But is that really perfect for your business as well? Something to talk in our next session.
Will do. Interesting thought. Thank you, Maiten.
You're welcome. This is in a nutshell, very, very, very nutshell, but this is the base of something that can be done. So a lot of questions for the person to develop, things that comes from the scan, things that based on the scan, sooner or later this person understands better, things that are still black holes, and that's all right. And that's all right. So it takes time. We have recreated something that it was kind of fun and silly at the same time because it's impossible to recreate it as properly in 10 minutes. But it is important to understand that the entrepreneur needs to be respected and we need to meet the entrepreneur exactly where they are, exactly where he or she is. And from there, we build. Awesome. I'd like to know if there is any question based on what we have done now.
That was very good.
Thank you, Thomas.
I see no questions in the chat. Thank you, Thomas. I don't see any questions in the chat. New ones, at least.
Do you have any of you? Do you have any general question about any particularity of the entrepreneur scan? About any particularity of our work together? What is coaching? Anything in general? Something that maybe have changed during this presentation? A new question that you might have now? I don't think so.
Yes, you give clarification for everything, Maiten, and thank you so much also, Dr. Martina, and also Professor Tom. He is a leading guy in the US. He is so popular guy.
Making me turn red.
And yes.
And I had to leave. My mother's 90th birthday today, and I need to get to her house.
Yes,
Congratulations.
No problem at all. Great thanks, Dr. Martina. Great thanks, Maiten. We're looking forward to collaborate with you in the nearest future. And also, we will still working hard to introduce you to the social media for the all entrepreneurial in the GCC as well as in the Middle East, because we need our responsibility educate the nation at the end of the day. And we're looking to educate the nation. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your potential for this hackathon.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
All.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you and have a great evening for all. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.